Hi, quick update for myself, Harvey Goldman. No cuts, no edits, no filters, and no hair. So, as you can see, I'm on the gimbal again today. Stood up because I've got a sore back, and I sound a bit congested because I was out gigging last night and I had a sauna this morning, which has not really done me any favours. So, after my sauna this morning, I went to my local Morrison's just to pick up a few bits. And prices have been hiked on typically a few of the products that I myself was looking to buy. Mainly being cheese and also steak. So not cool, not cool. I did have a chat with my partner about this, Mrs. Harvey, and she's convinced that it's in my head and, why would they do that kind of thing? No, she's utterly wrong. We had this chat a few weeks back as well about shrinkflation, where products seem to be getting smaller and we're paying the same, if not more, for them. So basically, my theory on this is that the supermarkets obviously pump the prices up to make a bigger profit, to satisfy their shareholders. The manufacturers obviously trick us by using the same packaging, or apparently the same packaging, for things like cereal packets, things like jars of jam, peanut butter. But they trick us, they give us less, and they charge us the same price, or indeed more if the supermarket have bumped the prices up somewhat. And a classic example of this is peanut butter. I buy loads of peanut butter, I get through jars and jars of it. Usually about £3 or £4 a jar, depending on what I buy. And a lot of the manufacturers have now, instead of giving you 454 gram jars, they now give you 400, but the jars look identical. However, they've put a recess, they've got like a concave bottom, which means on balance, it looks the same, but when you obviously try and put the product in there, you now pay the same amount of money for 400 grams. So this seems to be happening across the board. I know probably the classic example was, I think it's maybe a year or so ago, Toblerone did it with their bars. And they had the same size packaging, the same price, but they took it was 25 or 30% of the bars away by increasing the gaps in between the sort of pyramids of chocolate. And there was a furore. And I think it lasted about 3 months and they ended up reversing it because people were so peeved. Another one that people cite is Quality Street. For some reason, a lot of the time this happens to chocolate, which I don't eat masses of. But Quality Street is the classic one, and people always refer, I think it was like a meme that came out of how bad things have got since the 80s. Quality Street jars were like 1.5 kilos and they were this big, and then in the 90s they got smaller, the noughties smaller, and now you get about 20 chocolates for double the money. So that seems to be a real thing. Shrinkflation is happening across the board on all products, even things like cheeses that were once 400 grams, you're now paying the same money and you get 350. So basically we're being taken for a ride. A more sinister way they do it is skimpflation. So skimpflation is where you might buy something with multiple ingredients, perhaps something like a soup, or something like that. Maybe it's, I don't know, like a ramen bowl or something. And whereby the main ingredient may have been the main flavour of the soup. For example, potato and leek soup. You would expect the main ingredient to be potatoes and leeks, and it's not. It was, and now it's not. You're paying the same price, and now the main ingredient is basically water. So this is how they skimp on ingredients, or they give you more inferior ingredients, or more of the inferior ingredients for the same amount of money. And they might push it out as a new flavour, and that's their reasoning for changing the recipe. But it's not, it's skimpflation. It's skimping on the quality ingredients that you're used to, which obviously make you buy that product, or a part of the reason that you might buy that product. And they just change them and charge the same price and hope that you won't notice. They also do it with things like packaging for cereals, for example, particularly Kellogg's. They're terrible for it. So skimpflation, shrinkflation, they're all real things. What's your experience of this? I had a chat with my partner and she's convinced that it's because I'm a big lad now and I'm all grown up and I've got big hands that things like cornettos and Cadbury's cream eggs and kind of everything else seems small in these big hands. I'm convinced it's the other way, and I know obviously things were bigger as a child because you're smaller. But when I think about cornettos, they used to be massive. They were monstrous. I swear that cornettos used to be about 6-7 inches long. And now, literally, I could eat a box of 4, and it feels like one would have done sort of back in the day. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not just me. I'm sure it's not just me. But let me know in the comments what your experience of this is. I want to know what changes have you noticed in the UK supermarkets. I know that there was a rumour, and I don't know if it has actually happened yet. I'm sure it probably has or it will. It was that there's a grocery tax coming in, which is going to bump shopping bills up anything up to about 70 quid a year. And this is something that the government have levied on 4 big UK supermarkets. I believe it's Sainsbury's, Morrison's, I want to say it's Asda and Tesco as well. They're now charging people extra to cover the tax the government have levied on them under the guise of some kind of green initiative. And apparently it's going to raise anywhere from 2 billion to 7 billion for the government coffers. So, yeah, there you go. There's another tax that's slid under the radar that we're all going to get. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to go and eat some of my price hiked food, and yeah, I'll leave it there. Goldman, peace out.